Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen Podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Savage. You know, a couple years ago, guys, when I got my hands on the first Savage Renegade that I'd ever seen, I was really curious about this new shotgun and this new kind of design that they had going on. And I tell you what, that curiosity turned into being blown away pretty quickly. I love how the Savage is tough as nails and just performs and kills birds across the board in any condition I need it to. I've had a couple thousand rounds through the models that I have now, and they just flat go bang and kill birds, which is what I need. I love the fact that I can change the fit and the feel, and the performance is next level. Gotta love the Savage Renegade. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast. And this might look a little different than what we're used to, whether it's in my office or in the studio next door. We are at the headquarters of Platte Basin Outdoors. And I'm here with John and Devin, and they are like lead guides here at Platte Basin Outdoors. And we have been tearing up the honkers down here on the Front Range in Colorado. And it's been a ton of fun. Guys, thank you for taking the time today and jumping on this. This is super chill. We're just sitting here. We've been together for the past couple days. Had a good duck shoot on their last day of season. Had a good honker shoot yesterday. Had a good morning shoot this morning. It's been a ton of fun. We got a couple of dogs here to scratch. I can't think of a better way to spend an afternoon. We had a good shoot this morning. It's been awesome. So I guess the first question would be, and I'll start with you, John, and then we'll move to you, Devin. How did you guys get started in waterfowl guiding, in goose guiding? Because that's really what you do primarily, right?
Yeah, that's our bread and butter is geese. But we do dove and teal, duck and turkey as well. But yeah, goose. For me, just growing up, my dad, he kind of fell out of the hunting scene when he had his kids and everything. And then myself and my older sister actually got him back into it, wanting to get our hunter safeties and everything. So remember being real little on the river, public land, just having it out down there. Long story short, I was brought in at a young age and I really loved it and knew, hey, if I could do this every day and share the passion I have with other people, then that's what I want to do. So kind of just started guiding around for some other guys, and then met Mike, and that's kind of when it all really stuck.
So when you say Mike, I had Mike on the podcast 2 episodes ago. Yeah. Mike Tracy is the owner of Platte Basin Outdoors, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had Mike on, and we had an awesome conversation. Funny story. This is ridiculous. We recorded an unbelievable conversation. Well, I thought we recorded an unbelievable conversation. And we got to the end, and I went to stop record, and I never start recording. And Mike's a busy dude. I mean, we've been here for 2 days. He's always on his phone, answering calls.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him, I'm like, dude, I am so sorry, but I didn't hit record. And he's like, nah, no big deal, man. Give me 2 hours, and I can record again.
Right.
And we did it all over again. So that's the kind of guy that Mike Tracy is. Super flexible, super willing to work with people, and super forgiving, which in my case, I needed a lot of forgiveness on that one because that was a total bonehead move. But anyway, you met Mike.
Yeah, I met Mike, and, that's when the opportunity and everything was actually put out in front of me, like able for me to do. Like he made it all happen. And just kind of showed me the side that I didn't really see or know before. And just the way he approached things, and, I couldn't agree with him more on a lot of it. And it actually truly feels like guiding, like for the reasons we want to, with which is we want to share the love and passion we have for waterfowl, show everybody what it's about, and have a great time. More like you're hunting with your buddies and type thing, and just really enjoy it out there and make the most of everything, every trip. So that's it for me. I mean, I just really like being able to share everybody's first goose. Sometimes they're 60 years old, and that's just something really cool to be a part of. So,
it shows.
Yeah,
it shows because, we set up yesterday morning, and you don't know us, and you went through the safety briefing, was like, which for me personally was like, yeah, I get it. I understand 100%. But you got to do all that stuff. And as soon as all that got done, it was like, all right, now it's time to have a good time. And I've had nothing but a ball with you guys.
Oh, it's been awesome.
We're laughing and joking and screwing around in the blind. And that's to me what a guided trip should be. It shouldn't be stuffy. It shouldn't be boring. You should be having a good time. And you guys provide that in spades. I love it. Devin, what about you? How'd you get started in all this?
For me, I had a lot of cousins and uncles that did a lot of hunting. My dad and my direct family, they weren't big hunters other than like deer hunting and stuff like that in Pennsylvania. Fast forward to college, I grew up kind of doing like ranch hand stuff in college, and got to know a lot of the farmers. So then I'm like, well, there's a lot of birds here, so let's figure this game out. Back in the day where we used to just use the piece of plywood that was cut out like a cow, and we'd sit underneath the pivots, and total different game than it is now. But that kind of started it, and tried the club thing for a while, and ran into Mike, and we decided we were gonna just start buddy hunting on our own. And fast forward to now, then John came in, and that's where I think the game changed. We put the right people in the right places, and the right people met one another, and we kind of hit the ground running from there. So, and just been enjoying it ever since. Again, the conversation in the pit, having the two guides and everybody else in the pit, after the safety brief, after the business is done, then we get to have the good time, and then, the bird business starts, and I think that's where the fun's at.
It's just fun, right? And we've had rough conditions, and it's not for lack of birds. You guys are covered up in geese. If I could pick a place to send somebody to hunt geese, it'd be here, because just the sheer numbers of birds you guys have is ridiculous, and you can't control the weather. And Mike alluded to that in the podcast I recorded with him. You guys have a guarantee. You guarantee your hunts, and you're not guaranteeing, bird numbers. Right. You can't control the conditions, because like yesterday it was February 1st. It was 62 degrees. Today was a little cooler, but not much.
We had a little cloud cover today.
It was cloudy and breezy today. But yesterday at lunch, a guy teeing off on the golf course in his shorts. Weird you were jumping back into a goose pit after that, but
it was. I was sitting there, and it felt better for me to be in the pit, in that cold, damp air in the pit, to take a nap. No, take a nap right in the middle of a goose hunt. But I did. But we were eating lunch. We broke for lunch, went to a country club, ate lunch, and there were dudes golfing in shorts on the Front Range of Colorado on February 1st. So you can't control that stuff, but what you guys control is the atmosphere of the hunt and the relationship that you have with your hunters. You have a share in this. So what is the deal with that guarantee?
Guarantee is, we're going to take you out. We're going to control what we can and make sure it's the best possible experience for you. The guarantee, we're not guaranteeing limits or anything like that. We're guaranteeing a good time and opportunity at your birds. Ample opportunity at shooting some birds.
Right.
And I mean, it's always the end goal is the birds, right? But another thing is we really just strive on the relationships and a great time, and it's totally different, and it works really good. The guarantees, it's perfect. I mean, if we do have a bad one or a slower one, I mean, some of our worst hunts actually this year were the guys, they just rave about how good of a time they had. You know what I mean? And and then with the guarantee, then you get to share the blind with them again.
Right.
And, and hopefully the birds play a lot nicer that day. And it just takes the stress off us, which is we're really grateful for.
That's the huge
as the
part,
guides.
the stress relief.
And then to me, off the client or the customer, it's. I mean, what do they need to worry about? They just need to be in the moment, have a great time, tell the stories, just enjoy the day, because we'll take care of them on our end if we needed to. So,
well, you show up in the morning. And we've met you at the field the last 2 mornings at 5:30 in the morning. Send it on X-Pen and drive right to the spot. And everything just flows from there. And I like being part of things. I'm not the guy that wants to sit in the truck and have a fully catered experience. I want to get out, and
some people like that, and that's okay.
And it's okay.
Totally okay.
And it's okay.
Right.
And you're right. Yeah. You're right, Devin. I'm not dogging on guys that's what they want, because you guys do that.
Yeah.
You're like, no, it's chill. We don't expect you to help.
100%.
Yeah. I'm not that guy. I want to get out. I want to put on the maroon bell leather gloves, and I want to just get after it. I want to put decoys out and be part of the experience.
Yeah.
Hey, Todd, I need you to take this trailer of decoys and I need you to set them up out to 40 yards from the corner of the orange cone and put them about 6 feet apart. Okay? Perfect. I love the clear-cut directions that you offer, because if guys want to help, they can. If they want to sit in the truck and drink coffee till it's ready, they can do that too. And the flexibility to have that is awesome on you guys. And the 2-guide thing is unique. I think a lot of places, you show up to a spot, whether you're hunting mallards, whether you're hunting geese, no matter what you're doing, there's one guide. And he's doing all the calling. He's setting up all the decoys. He's doing everything. He's running the show. You guys run 2. Why do you run 2?
There's a lot of factors that play into that. I mean, really, Colorado's becoming more of a lesser destination, and they like bigger spreads, a lot of calling, a lot of motion. So having a second guy there doing all those really helps. But also, too, it really helps with the overall experience for the client. Like, you got the guy out watching the birds, flagging, calling, or whatever. And then, we sit right next to each other in the middle so we can talk. And both ends of the pit, you guys can, we're not end and end, and guys in the middle can't talk. But I think it adds to the experience, because one of us could be in there, just telling stories, having a good time. And the other one, hey, birds or whatever. Right. And then we get there and get to business. And it really changes in all aspects. It just gives you the advantage, just as far as communication with you guys, even when birds are coming in, and just the time in the pit, just the stories and everything.
The social
it allows a lot more, and it definitely helps you on the birds. So
we said something yesterday, because yesterday afternoon it was 62 degrees.
Yep.
There were no birds moving, and it was super slow in the afternoon, which I don't mind, because it gives us time to chew the fat, to BS, get to know each other, right? And I said something like, we were at, 11 birds or something like that, and we were kind of like, dang, are we going to get to, a full limit? And I wasn't worried about shooting a full limit. It's like, dude, it is what it is. It's 62 degrees. It's going to be what we're going to get, the birds we're going to get. And I said, I'm just enjoying time sitting out here shooting the shit with you guys,
right?
And creating relationships. And you said, like, man, that's what it's all about.
It really is. And I think the 2-guide system allows that, because, we're in the middle, so one can talk to one half of the pit and the other half of the pit, but we can always have somebody watching the birds, and then 2 sets of eyes too for us With the fields we have birds kind of coming from every direction. You seen that earlier today, and just having another set of eyes, just being able to know where the birds come from in our fields is very helpful. But yeah, the social aspect of it is we could sit down and one can be really paying attention, like John said, and the other one can just be BSing with the people in the pit, which I think it creates a better experience. And
100%, I agree.
Well, and nobody's really ever that I've known. Nobody's really ever done that before. So I mean, you want to be different and set yourself apart, be different, and I think we're doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
It should be a good time, like that. You said, Devin said. I mean, that's how it should be. I mean, that's a thing I think a lot of guys miss is just the atmosphere on the hunt. Nobody wants to be bossed around or yelled at all day or whatever the case may be. They're there for a good time. Like, if you show them a good time, I mean, a lot of guys, regardless of what the birds do that day, I mean, they leave happy and had an awesome experience. And same for us. I mean, we meet a lot of cool guys and women doing this, and I mean, just getting to share the blind with, even guys like yourself, and I mean, it's just cool. It's a nice change of pace, and with every group, and it's just an awesome time, and just makes you look forward to it even more every day. And I want you guys to have the best experience and just love the waterfowl and the hunting like I do. You know what I mean?
That passion shows through.
Yeah.
In how you guys approach it, how you handle it. We're meeting at the field at 5:30 in the morning. It's early, and we've done it 2 days in a row. It's like, we got to set a lot of decoys. There's a lot of work involved that goes into this, and that yawn right there is 100% what I'm talking about. It's middle of the day right now. We're all ready for a nap.
Right.
And maintaining, there's a level of professionalism, and you talked about this. You mentioned it in the pit. Mm-hmm. There's a level of professionalism that goes into it to make sure that these folks that are coming out here and paying you to do this are getting the most out of the experience.
Yep.
You guys have nailed that, man. I mean, everything from these super spacious pits to and that was one of the things I said yesterday. My dad is, 71 or 72 years old, and he's a typical 70-year-old American. He hasn't necessarily, he's a boomer, typical boomer. He hasn't necessarily taken care of himself. Hi, kiddo. And not super spry. And I asked him, like, how do you, we're just like dropping down in the pit like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But I said, how do you guys get like an old dude in this pit? Because I'm already thinking forward to my dad. I'd like to bring my dad down here and do this.
Oh, we'll make it work.
And you didn't miss a beat. You were like, John was like, step ladder.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll get him in the pit and get him out of the pit. No big deal. And once he's in the pit, all he's got to do is worry about shooting. Yeah. Keeping his head down and shooting.
Well, you don't have to worry about that mainly with the older guys. Yeah.
Those
well,
covers
and the covers, awesome. Yeah. You see right through them. I mean, all of like what we're talking about too is like it's all coming from Mike. Like, just every aspect of it, all the way down to the lids on the pit, is for you guys, for the experience, right?
Right.
And they're very small things, actually.
But the small things add up.
But in the grand scheme, they're big.
Yeah.
So
you do all the little things right, and the game takes care of itself. It's like when I was coaching back in the day, when I was coaching, head basketball coach, and my kids would get sick of doing shooting drills. And I'd be like, dude, you guys, we shot 31% from the field last week. We need to shoot 38% this week, and we'll win by that much more.
Right.
All of the little things, turnovers, blown shots. I mean, I'm talking like double speak here, but it's the same thing.
Well, the statistical, I guess, analogies are there, and they still work in the same way.
Yeah.
we have the numbers, we have what works, what doesn't. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, we can change that. And Mike's usually ahead of the game on that. So
Mike's dialed, man.
Yeah, pit lids, the pits, even some of our drop-ins, like everything's a calculated endeavor, if you will.
The interaction, professionalism, all of it.
Well, it works. You guys have it dialed. I want to cover a little bit more client-based stuff, and then I want to get into stories. Because we were at lunch, we were reliving the hunt for this morning, and I want to get into that. If you could sit in here telling prospective clients what they need to be prepared to be able to do, what would you say?
Like going on a hunt with us or doing it on their own?
In general, but specifically on a hunt with you.
On a hunt with us, yeah. I mean, just having your shells and your shotgun and maybe some snacks and some water. Other than that, hopefully we're the ones taking care of the rest of the stuff, and just be patient and wait for the shot call. So
if guys book this in September, and they know they're coming out here in December to hunt geese, and they got a whole fall to prepare, what would you tell somebody that's got all that time to prepare? What's the number one thing that they can do to help themselves?
Proper clothing.
Really?
I would say. I mean,
like this Cryptek stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
Be comfortable.
I mean, comfortable, warm, something that's going to keep you dry. I mean, you get that question a lot from guys like, oh, well, what should I wear? And it's like, we give them what we do in the conditions, but I mean, just checking the weather before your hunt and just what's going to make you comfortable. We're going to have the heaters and everything rolling when you get there if it's cold. Or
we've had heaters every morning.
Yeah, even when it's, you got that little chill in the morning.
Those pits are cold. Then that cold air settles in that pit.
But the heaters do a good job of taking care of that once they've been fired up.
When guys book in advance like that, I would say watch videos, but that's not going to really tell you much,
It'll get you amped up for the hunt.
Well, you watch, like, our stuff.
Right.
And it kind of gets you... I mean, that would, also be a good thing because it kind of prepares you more. But, like, with us, I mean, we're going to be touching base with you, telling you reach out with anything you need or whatever. And we give you a stout rundown on the initial contact. Like, you pretty much know what you're going to get into,
as coming into this, I haven't hunted out of a pit in a really long time. And then there's some nuance to it. Yeah, you're standing on the ground on your own 2 feet, but your shooting windows are 10 and 2.
Yeah.
You can't swing too far right. You can't swing too far left. You guys are telling us where the birds are. Front right, up top, out back. You're giving us all that. But having the ability to pick up your shotgun, mount it smoothly, swing through a bird, and shoot, and fold up the birds you're shooting at, that's going to take some deliberate practice. And if guys don't hunt a ton, you need to go to the range. You need to grab a case of Federal shells, some Federal Top Gun, and you need to go to the skeet field, and you need to practice. And those things, to me, guys that might not do it all the time are going to pay huge dividends. Because, let's face it, it's got to be frustrating when you decoy 50 birds on the deck and you call go and guys don't cut a feather.
But it happens.
It happens. Yeah. You don't want to see it happen, but it happens.
Right.
So as a client, I would want to be like, I'm going to do the due diligence. I'm going to grab a case of Federal and I'm going to go to the range and I'm going to shoot so that when John and Devin say cut them out front, I can make it happen. I can and kill 2 out of 3.
Yeah. I mean, being familiar with your firearm is more what I would take from doing that, just, getting comfortable with it.
Right.
Because a lot of people aren't real comfortable with it. And also, though, the trap range, it's only going to do so much for you before you get in a pit. The pit, I mean, you have
because you're underneath it, they're coming
down.
All-star shooters in there, and it's a different ball game. But, You know, that's where like the soft lids we were on, they come into play. You
Right.
get out of your way a lot easier, and you can see through them.
Well,
You
they
see
can
where
see
the birds
kind
are
of where the
coming.
birds, even though we're telling them where the birds are,
Yeah.
you can kind of lock
Right.
in on where they're at.
Right.
And
But-
that helps a lot from, you know, when we were using wood lids and stuff like that
Yeah.
before even.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about all the small things just a minute ago. I mean,
Right.
doing that, you know, connecting on clays and familiar with your firearm to the soft lids and the two guide system, even being able to communicate down both ends, pointing where they're coming, all that really comes into play on your how many birds are going to be harvested on a go.
100%.
You know, I mean, all that all way into the same end.
Right.
You know.
And with
Yeah,
the
'cause
two
you-
guide system too, with the novice hunters, we can usually sit them next to us
Yeah,
on either
either
side,
side,
and we
yeah.
can do the pit lids for them. Like we could do a lot of things. We can help assist in reloads and stuff like that, or if they have any issues going on, we can address that with them
Right.
sitting next to us. So we can tend to put, you know, the more experienced people to the outside and bring everybody else closer in, so we can help them so they have a better hunt.
Right.
And even with the kids and stuff like that, you know, some of them, our pits aren't super deep, but you know, that could be a little bit of a reach for a kid to get up and throw it backwards.
Well,
But that's just as easy as one
Yeah,
of us. just
I mean, my
throwing it forward.
lead well, both of my cameramen are smaller statured. They're Lindsay especially. She just walked in off camera and she's giving me the hairy eyeball. But Lindsay's tiny. And yes, I'm throwing Lindsay under the bus right now. Lindsay's like 4 feet 9 inches tall.
If I stand straight, I'm 5'1". Thank you.
The best part, but you guys have like little step stools, get people up, step on it, and get your shots, you know. But it's all those mechanics, like you said, getting familiar with your firearm, being able to make those shots when it counts. So when you say go, you know, cut them or kill them on a 50 bird set, you want 5-6 birds falling, ideally, or more.
Yeah.
You know,
Doesn't happen very often, but
we like to see it when it does, though.
yeah.
I'll take it.
But that's the ideal thing. And if guys listening to this podcast or folks that are listening to this podcast and they get there and they're like, oh yeah, man, that's a good point. I need to practice more. That's the whole point.
Yeah, shooting clays is definitely not going to hurt you when it comes to
No,
shooting any
no,
bird
not
that's
at all.
flying. It'll give you several different scenarios, clays flying in different directions. That's just, yeah, it's a little different when you're kind of coming up level to the ground and we're right on the ground. That I think you said it yesterday. We're right in the ground where they want to land. So it's just a little different scenario. You know, hopefully it's easier to some aspect, but you know, shooting clays, it wouldn't hurt you at all.
Yeah.
It's going to help.
Well,
So I'm
100% of the time.
Go ahead.
They get in so close. I mean, you're coming out and they're right there. So it's hard to even practice for it, really. But we say it every morning, like, who's hunted a pit before and who hasn't.
Right.
And so we know, like Devin and I all know, okay, well, you know. But then we tell them, you know, practice with the lid. Tell them our preference. Tell them to just practice with an unloaded firearm. Practice going in and out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys won't do it, actually. But
Throw it back a couple times.
yeah,
It's not going to hurt anything.
Get comfortable,
Well, the first
man.
couple goes, everyone's usually trying to push them back all nice, like, yeah, we don't. I mean, if you
Nah.
Throw
blow all
that
the-
thing into the next county.
if
We
you
can
blow over
pick it up
decoys, we'll
later.
go get it.
Don't,
Yeah,
don't hit
exactly.
the guys next to you. But
yeah,
get
but
it
if you're throwing it
cleanly-
straight out back and it's knocking
clean out of
decoys
your
over,
way.
we'll figure it out.
The
at
first
end.
one, yeah, I'm going to tell a little story. The first go, 2 mornings ago, I grabbed my gun with my left hand like I usually do by the forearm, and I flipped that thing. And it was like, doo, 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 doo. And I turned around, reloaded, set my gun in the rack, and I turned around, and it was like 5 feet behind the pit.
yeah, I remember.
I had
that.
to like reach out and get it, and I'm like, okay, I might have been a little overkill on that one, but it was out of the way.
Right.
You know, it was out of the way, and I'd rather err on that side of it than getting all tangled up in it.
Yeah,
Oh,
coming
yeah.
up with it on your head.
Right.
Ran
Yeah.
Get it out
cameras
of the way.
down the pits before on shot calls, and
Right.
it is crazy the amount that don't get it out. But they get so excited, right?
Yeah.
A lot of guys haven't seen birds that close before,
So,
so it's an exciting
When
thing.
you feel it and you hear it, it's
Yeah.
just a total different experience.
and so the world of goose hunting right now is like, the rage is the A-frame or panels. It's the rage right
Sure,
now.
and there's a time
and
and
I
a place,
drive
absolutely.
So that's what I'm getting at. I go all around the country, and even in my home valley, I see it. And guys are hunting, A-frames, and there's a time and a place for it. Don't get me wrong, but why pits? And pits aren't. They're not even feasible in some scenarios. I have a landowner that I hunt all the time, and he's like, no pits. I don't want any pits in my field. Okay, so we have to hunt layouts, or we're trying to do an edge hide or something like that. But why pits? Why do you guys run pit blinds?
Yeah, I mean, well, you could only put pits in so many locations as well. So you usually pick your like historically known areas that have feeds, or the fields even, go in there. And then the pits, I mean, it's more work on the front end, like before season, but once you get it in the ground, you have a blind that is blended with the ground. Hides 10 guys real quick. I mean, if you wanted to put a bigger one in, you could 15, 20 guys, whatever.
We haven't even touched the capacity of the pits you guys have.
But, I personally, like, the pits is, you hide easy, you're right in the thick of the spread, instead of on a panel where you're off to the edge. Layouts, you might be off to the edge, or, whatever. And a lot of these fields here, some are cover crop, they get disc down, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, some are beets, and it's dirt, and those fields hunt too. And you're not running layouts in there.
There's no place to hide.
The pits, you get the birds. You're where they want to land. Like, you are right there. And then we get a lot of cold weather conditions, and digging the pits as big and as wide as we do, and space between shooters. I mean, when it was really cold, we were running 5 heaters in there. I mean, it would make that pit
like 70 degrees down there.
70, 80 degrees. And those are some of your best hunting days. Like, you don't want to take guys out and have them freezing in a layout blind.
It wasn't that long ago that it was 20 below.
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago or something.
You're not hunting.
Right when you were doing the podcast with Mike.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're not hunting a layout blind in those conditions. You're just not, realistically.
No, you may die.
Yeah.
Right.
Mike's off camera right now, and he just chimed in. He couldn't help himself. But you may die, or his words. But he's not wrong. I mean, I have 2 camera people. Lindsay's one of them, and then Dan Picard's the other one. That we did a layout blind hunt at 20 below, 25 below a couple of years ago, and they lost fingernails from running the cameras. 3 weeks later, their fingernails are black and they're falling off. I mean, those are legitimate concerns, and you're trying to put clients out on those conditions. You gotta have a comfortable
one with the heaters that we run, and it keeps it comfortable. And if you're taking first time hunters or kids, or you want to get your wife into it, and my wife will hunt every now and again, but if it was cold and miserable, she'd be going to the truck and saying, call me when you're done. We'll be at the store, and we'll go do something else. We'll go visit a friend. But being able to keep everybody comfortable, the space in between. I mean, I'm not a small guy, and I can sit in the same hole with my dog and have my snacks and
your bag and a heater.
Yeah, you kind of have a lot of room to move around, and the safety aspect of it with the guns and the gun rests, and people aren't moving around you, and you have your own. You're not shoulder to shoulder with somebody, so you're not really bumping into everybody's stuff.
Right.
So a big safety aspect, but the pits are nice too for the calling. And an A-frame hide or a layout hide, if you're out of the decoys, when they're spinning over you, you got to get off that call, and otherwise they're just looking right down at you, and the sound isn't coming from
we saw that with ducks the other night.
Yeah.
When you guys called, Mike called, and he called on Tuesday, and he's like, hey, Wednesday's the last day of duck season down here, which we've been out for over a week at that point, done with ducks.
Yep.
So And I love ducks. And so I was like, kind of like duck depression, whatever. You've been teasing me about it.
Yeah.
But he said the magic word, we got ducks. Well, I guess it's a phrase. And I told Lindsay, I was like, I'm picking you up at 5 a.m. in Cody. It's a 6.5 hour drive. We'll be there to hunt ducks in the afternoon. And we had an awesome shoot.
It was a blast.
It was a ball, especially for last day, warm weather. We had a great shoot. And I love that. And we were using tangle-free panels, and they were the perfect hide for that situation.
With the tops.
They were
if you
perfect.
can run panels, you got to have the tops, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like Mike always likes to say, if you're off on an edge and you're supposed to be bushes, well, the bushes aren't going to be noisy, right?
Right.
So I forget how he words it, but it's the bushes aren't supposed to be
if the birds
making
are
the noise.
if the birds are thinking that the bushes are where the noise is coming from,
they're not going to be in
they're
bushes.
not going to want a decoy. They're going to be leery, especially late in the season.
So that's a huge advantage to the pit.
That's where the pits. I mean, your concealment is unmatched.
Yeah.
Comfortability, safety, and literally just the experience. Like in Colorado, we getting a lot of little geese. We have a lot of little geese for this year. We've had them the entire season.
We shot nothing but littles this morning.
This morning, yesterday we had a couple big ones.
Yeah, we killed a couple.
But I mean, I've hunted lessers all over the place. It seems like to me at least.
Sure.
The best experience I've ever had was right here in Colorado in a pit, because they're coming to that noise. They're coming to the flagging. And when you're in the pit, you're the ground. They were going to land right on top of you like feet. I mean, sometimes, if we really tried, we could probably reach out and grab them here and there.
There was a bird this morning that I think I could have killed with a tennis racket.
Yeah, that double you had.
Yeah, it was like...
Well, that one almost hit Mackenzie behind the camera.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it, like a half foot from her
She
pole?
had the long lens on, and it was like right there.
It came skipping across. Yeah, it was right there.
Yeah, and that's what you want when it comes to shooting geese. I don't care if they're little geese, if they're big Tonys, well, big Todds or whatever.
Big Todds.
Whatever you guys want to call them. That's the point.
Big Todds,
in
little
your
Todds.
face, man. It's no different than turkeys. I want to grab that savage and I want to pull up and I want to douse them with a load of black cloud and just whop. And I want them falling right there. I want to be able to reach out and pick them up and put them in the blind. And that's where in my experience, it's the last couple days and in the past, pits are they're the way to go when it comes to stuff like that. Now, like I said,
they're feasible and you can do it, or you don't have the water.
Because it's not always feasible.
Right.
We do a lot of edge hides up in Wyoming where we are, and our birds, admittedly, are not as highly educated as your birds are. They don't get the hunting pressure. They're further up the flyway, so they haven't seen as much pressure.
Yeah.
And we can pull off an edge hide. We can pull off setting tangle-free panels in a corn stubble field and corn stubble them in, and the birds will suck right into them. If you can do that, good for you.
Absolutely.
And good for me, because I get to do that kind of stuff. Down here, that'd be tough. That'd be a tall order.
Well, edges are, for little geese, I mean, there's very rarely will you ever see little geese piled on an edge.
Right.
Big geese, sure.
All the time.
But little geese, I mean, yeah, they'll get to the edges, but that's because the field's so full. But yeah, we've had one this year that we tried it. We were kind of often not too sure, but with the tangle-free panel blinds with the tops, the flip tops, I mean, the only cover we had in that field was about that tall.
There's nothing.
There's zero hide. And we just brushed them in real good, and it became a weed line out in the center pretty much. Just a good, stout weed line. And we had the top over, so we looked, I mean, we were put a couple thousand birds on the ground.
Oh, wow.
In the flight series that Tangle Free's got, too.
Right.
And they had no idea we were there. But to say you could do that all the time,
yeah,
no, not down here, I wouldn't say. But that's why pits you'll never question it when you're going into a field with a pit on concealment. They're not going to see you.
100%.
I mean, they all have the nice flat floors in them, so you're not rocking around in a chair, sinking down into the mud. Yeah.
Right. And we got Luna, the goose slayer over here.
Oh, yeah.
She mopped up some cripples for us yesterday. It was pretty awesome. She's so fast, but...
This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Cryptek. Guys,
camouflage and quality hunting garments and apparel are vitally important to success in the field. You want to be out there when you want to be out there and for as long as you want to be out there. And you need high quality garments and clothing and gear that's going to keep you concealed at the same time. You know, Kryptek's variety of camouflage patterns and the offerings of apparel that they bring to market are second to none. I love being partnered with that company. I love the shared ethos that we have. I love the shared values that we have. And I'm super proud to support a veteran-owned American company like Kryptek.
Kind of like 180 into going, still sticking on the theme of like tactics, because we're talking about tactics, but why did we hunt the field that we hunted this morning? Because to me, I pull in this area and I'm like, dude, there's geese all over the place. And they're definitely hitting specific places, but you had a very clear-cut theory as to why we hunted where we hunted this morning.
Yeah, I mean, when you get warm like we are, they'll get in these big, like mega feeds, essentially, just massive feeds, birds from multiple roosts going all to one field. Well, you know, today, luckily, we were able to we had a pit in a field, you know, one field south of 20,000 bird feed, loaf kind of.
We saw it yesterday.
Yeah. And then, literally, we're in the middle, and then you have one of their big loafing areas on the ice. Some were even roosted on it this morning. Probably about 5,000 were roosted on there.
Yeah.
But going in there and just kind of bugging them, they've been in that same pattern for a week and a half, just literally hunting them in that field. I mean, we threw them off, and they spread out, and, you know, instead of one big feed, they're 10 smaller ones now going different directions. And that, you know, it doesn't always happen like that.
Right.
But today, luckily enough, you know.
Well, and I jokingly said, you know, one of my favorite stupid movie lines, but this is chess, not checkers. And gotta love Denzel Washington for that one. But, you know, I love that line, and that's exactly what it was, because we strategically hunted that to set you guys up for when we're gone, because those birds got up, they flew around, they went to a different feed, and then they went back to a different loaf. Now, some birds came back over us this afternoon, or late morning, and we got a little bit of a play at them, but it was mixing them up, because you hear all the time, oh, the birds are stale. All these birds have been here for 2 months. They're stale. Well, if you can,
Try a different field.
try a different field. Go bug them. You said that this morning. You're like, go bug them. Go bother them. I wanted to bug these birds. I wanted to get them off their program so they go do something different, because it creates more opportunity later on.
Yeah. You know, weather's a big factor as well, but when you're running pits every day and stuff like that, every day is different, and if you watch it all as closely as everybody here does, it's
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know very many places.
Time put in with scouting is a big thing.
And the scouting's huge. I don't know very many places where there's lots of geese where people aren't hunting the snot out of them. It's just the world we live in today. It's not like it was when I was a kid, where I could go hunt anything I wanted to without even asking permission, and I had tons of birds to work with, and they were naive and stupid, and we shot limits every time we went. It's not like that anymore. And the dynamic of waterfowl hunting has changed, so it takes that strategic mindset to be able to create opportunity for yourself over and over and over again. So take stale birds that have been here. How long have these birds been here, Derek?
Some of them have been here all season. I think we've seen some of the same flocks. Definitely, we probably had 2 decent pushes, maybe more, but I'd say the 2 with the cold snaps that we had. So, I mean, how many did you say?
2.
2?
Like,
yeah.
a
lot of the little birds just stayed around because I don't think it was enough and it wasn't long enough, but we did get some new big birds to play with. But
yeah, I think it was the snow for us. We never got covered up with a bunch of snow. Like, we got cold, but they found their pockets of water like they always do.
Right.
their food was open. They just stayed closer to water for a while. And, yeah, we had just a couple days we had a bunch of migrating little geese. It was the weirdest year. When that cold hit, usually all your big geese come in. You're shooting the big geese down by rivers or whatever. This year we're like mid-morning when you're usually not seeing them. We're shooting migrating groups of little geese.
Yeah.
Some big geese moved in, and, you know, I believe that the little geese we got here in November 1st pretty much went just south of us for 5 days. And then they came right back up here. And they mixed, you know, now they're mixed. You've seen it the last couple days. But, yeah, before that, I mean, that happened 3 weeks ago. Before that, I mean, these birds were here for like 2 solid months, 2.5.
And that's what I'm talking about. You know, guys, we saw the same thing up in northern Wyoming where we got a big push of birds in October. The end of October, we had super cold. We had, not super cold, but we had cold. We had snow. Typical. We got our usual push, and that was it. That was it. It was all the birds we had. And it was like, how do you manage that? You know? And I think your philosophy of you let them do their thing, and then you throw a curveball at them. And then you reset the entire chessboard. And you start from square one, and you just keep playing around. And it works. I mean, it works. We've had super warm temperatures, and you guys have consistently, the last 2 days, have put us on, 3-man limits. It's been awesome. The shooting's been just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
It's just been great. And the way some of these birds have responded to calls has been ridiculous. That one.
Yeah, that you had.
That was all you. That was all you, though.
I don't know about that, but it was the right note at the right time.
And we didn't even chime in.
Nope.
That bird locked up for so long.
When birds do
you
a
spun it
backflip
around. You spun it
to
around
come
and it
back to
came
the
in, and we were like,
decoys.
"Well, we're not even gonna." What did I say to you? I said something funny. I'm trying to remember it now.
I don't know.
He basically what you said was, the gist of it was, why would I pick up my call?
Yeah.
And screw it up?
Yeah.
Because the bird's hearing what he wants to hear.
100%.
And you were like in my right ear going, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing it. I hit a note. I wish I could say it was on purpose, but it was just throwing calls out there, and all of a sudden something clicked.
It pulled right in.
And that bird was like,
Hey, he like flipped upside down.
he was hugging the pumpkin
Then
the
put his
whole
feet
way
out.
in. Dude.
Hugging the pumpkin. That's right.
But yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, if you want to change anything in that moment, I mean, you definitely should not.
No, don't. If you
No, and you don't have to add to it. And we kind of do it always the same way too. Like if you got 3 and 4 packs and you have them locked up, there's no sense in somebody else chiming in.
Right.
Just let it work. And
Right.
and if it's finishing birds, there's no sense to add something to it that's something different that they weren't locked into.
Right, and we saw that with ducks on Wednesday afternoon, where they were super call shy. We started out hammering them pretty hard, and Mike looked at us and he's like, "We got a cameraman snoring over here. It's been too many days of too much go, and he's worn out." But
Early mornings.
some people's kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mike hit the nail on the head the other night on Wednesday afternoon, and he's like, "Why don't we just try silent?"
Yeah.
We were where the birds wanted to be. The scout was key. You guys had the scout pinned.
Mike had the scout pin.
Well, whatever. The scout was pinned. And we just, quit calling.
Well, it was like what we were just talking about. We were in the bushes making a bunch of noise.
Right. Didn't
Well,
work.
that's the way we had it set on that hole as far as, it was many reasons. Wind, safety,
We were limited
sun.
to it. Yeah, we were limited. Our
we
height
had to
was
do it.
limited. Right.
But, yeah, we were the bushes making noise, which isn't the
It was
case.
just one of those do less
Yeah.
less is more scenarios.
So-
That's a really good point, dude. Because I think, and especially in our world today, you get on social media and you see guys just hammering away on birds, and they think that's what they got to do. And that's not always the case. And I would argue that paying attention to what is happening around you and being involved in the moment and being able to read that is way more important than being some competition level.
Well, just like your one note. That one note locked that bird up from, spun it around. Yeah. And it was just the same note over and over and over again, but it worked. It finished him great.
Right.
Well, Mike and I, we talk about it frequently on you need to pay attention and read the birds coming in. Every group is different.
Right.
It's some love the flag, some hate it, some like the rapid, weird sounding calling that a human doesn't even think sounds like anything.
Exactly.
Right? And some like just straight silence. And
that was those ducks on Wednesday, man. When we shut up, they decoyed.
And then there's a few that just really were hesitant until you hit them with a little whistle.
The Drake whistle.
Yeah, and then they just was that last little bit. But that's, again, we're reading it. All right, well, let's give them a little something. Then just right there. Done. Right. It's like same thing with the goose flag. I mean, never underestimate a good flag guy on geese.
Okay, yeah, because when we first started way back in the 90s with goose flags, it was like if you had a buddy that couldn't call, you handed them a flag. They're like, you just wave the flag.
Not anymore.
Now you got to be able to do both at the same time.
So talk about that, because it's changed. It's not just grab a tangle-free flag and flap it around. You said yesterday, yeah, you got to be able to work the flag the right way. And that kind of clicked with me, because I went, man, that's opposite of what when I first started flagging, was like, yeah, you just flap it. And granted, I was hunting in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I got the first crack at the birds out of Hudson Bay, and they were dumb. So if you wagged a flag, they were on it, right? But that's not the case. What do you mean by, is there a different way to flag little geese versus big Todds?
It's all on how they react to it, I think.
The big Todds, you usually leave them alone.
I hate that term, but we'll go with it.
The big Todds.
What was it? Last night we had that. It was like 7-pack. Big geese, dude.
Ate it.
Known to hate flagging,
but they ate it.
They were right on top of the clones.
Yeah.
Now, and the difference is too, out of the pit were the movement on the ground. Out of an A-frame or
I wouldn't even run a flag in an A-frame.
Right.
I mean, if you're going
to
want
to attract attention to that
from a distance, but other than that, but for us, it can be that movement on the ground and just keeping it low to the ground. You're not standing up and hitting it super high. But
you get them, you read them. Some like it all the way to the ground. Most little geese like it all the way to the ground. Some are you just on their banks just to draw them back. But Mike stresses it all the time. Actually, when you flag them to the ground, I've been trying to do that and it isn't doing anything for me. It literally matters to the height you're doing it at out of the pit. You go up tall right here, they're gonna flare all day long, but keep it lower to the ground and just small, quick little flutters. It brings them in on a rope. It
looks more like birds on the ground, straight. Because you watch a big group of birds on the ground, and there's constant movement, and it's not just birds moving around feeding; it's birds stretching their wings, but it's low.
Well, yeah, and those little geese, they're aggressive when they feed and they
hop over each other.
Yeah, not to the degree snows do, but
right.
They get that hop, and that's essentially what you're mimicking, and they love it, but they'll also hate it if you're doing it wrong. It's.
So reading the birds.
I've seen it a lot of times where you're calling and they're flagging, and then out of the corner of your eye, somebody's running a flag that's not really
way up. It's
doing
way
it,
up here,
and they're just see that flag go up and lose your birds.
That's interesting.
Keep the flag low. You set the flag down, you lose them. Pick it back up, they gain their attention back.
That's interesting because when we first started doing it, it was just a wooden dowel with some vinyl and fiberglass rods on it. It was real basic stuff, and they'd last about a year, and then you had to replace them. It's not like these tangle-free flags you guys have now, and they last indefinitely, and they look great, and they work great. And it was always like start high and like a goose landing. But that was big geese too, and naive big geese. So you're like, and it was always birds that, you know, it was way back in the day when guys first started doing it. So it makes complete sense. You're dealing with more sophisticated birds. You're dealing with birds that have been in the area a long time, and you got to be very realistic in everything that you do. Everything that you do. But I've noticed something else too, calling. I don't have a little goose call on my lanyard. I have big goose calls because in northern Wyoming where we live, big geese rule. And I mean that more ways than one. We love big geese, but the little geese, we don't retain a lot of little geese throughout the season. You'll see little geese mixed in with honkers, with big geese, but they follow the lead of the big geese. So if you're decoying the big geese, you're decoying the little geese too. And it's completely different down here.
Right.
Completely from what I've seen so far. We shot nothing but little geese this morning. And I love it because it's different.
Right.
You know, I'm picking up a bird that's hardly any bigger than a Drake mallard.
Yeah, some are smaller.
Cute little bill on him. You know, you get those Hutchinson's geese, and they're like this big.
You're
Right.
into you're getting the big ones compared to a few weeks back.
Dude!
I mean, there's we definitely probably killed some mallards on Wednesday that were bigger than some of the geese we killed this season.
That's so cool, though.
And
That's
it's
so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Because they just do it different. The way they decoy is different. Everything about them is different. So, I drove through this area on my way to Oklahoma a couple of years ago, and that video is on our YouTube channel. You can check it all out. I did a couple of really cool podcasts with the guys at the Outfit Oklahoma. We were hunting cranes and little geese. And we tore them up a couple times, had a couple tough hunts, but it was just a great experience. But I remember driving through this area, because you got to drive through here from where I live to get there. And I remember driving through here, and I looked at the guy I was with at the time, and I said, someday I want to hunt down here. And here I am, hunting with you guys. And I remember thinking, I don't think it's worth it to try to freelance that place. Like, grab a trailer full of decoys and go DIY it. And we were talking about this the other night at dinner. And the reason I say that is the logistics of it would be almost impossible. Because this is a very competitive area to hunt geese, first of all. Every morning we've been at the truck stop getting breakfast and snacks for the day. There's been scads of other goose hunters.
Yeah, and it's middle of the week right now.
And it's the middle of the week.
Back half of the week, but
But still, it's not Saturday.
Right.
It's not Saturday morning.
It's pretty much every day, yeah.
Right. And there's competition. And it's all private ground. There's very little public. The public that is, I can't even imagine how hard it would be to hunt birds on the public. Almost impossible. And I looked at it, and I remember thinking to myself, watching these just clouds of birds flying around and going, I'd hire an outfitter. 100%. I would go with an outfitter down there because it is, for lots of reasons. I don't have access, number one. I don't want to haul my gear that far, number two. And this is the learning curve. You'd get your butt handed to you down here if you didn't know what you were doing.
A lot of decoys. We run a lot of decoys.
You guys run so many decoys. It's taken us over an hour every morning to put decoys out, which I like. I like the whole process of building the trap and getting it all set. But for the guys out there that are thinking, "Oh, I'm a freelance guy. Well, that's great. In a lot of areas, you can do that no problem. Especially like North Dakota, Canada, the northern tier of states. Freelancing's great, right? We all love doing it. We've all grown up doing that. Why come and hunt with Platte Basin Outdoors?
I mean, you're going to get the best bang for your buck in very, very many ways. You have, Mike blocking up his ground in areas that are actually extremely low pressured and just guys can't really get on, and just exclusive access all over. And Mike's always seems like he's getting new one, all the time.
His phone rings constantly.
Yeah. And
I've been with the man for 2 days straight now, and he's never not on the phone.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, yeah, I got birds. Yep, okay, yeah, well, okay, cool, yeah. That'd be cool if we could get in there, you know. He's constantly, and not just Mike. I mean, you guys are doing the same thing. You're constantly planning out 2, 3, 4 days in advance.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, so you got all the exclusive access and ground, comfortability of the pits. I mean, the guys you're going to hunt with, like our core crew and everybody with us, I mean, they're fun and you're going to have a great time. They're going to put you on the birds.
You're selling yourself short. You're not just fun.
Yeah.
You're very, very good at what you do.
And
very good.
The gear and the scouting. I mean, Mike's out there scouting 7 days a week, and then all the guys will go and we're scouting before hunts, morning, evening. You know, as we're sitting here right now, we got 2 people out there looking at birds, and we have a good idea where we're going tomorrow right now, but you never know. Change tonight.
Right.
And that you just don't get that on the DIY. Like, you're definitely not going to get the amount of exclusive ground that we've got.
There's no way you could come here, knock on doors, and get permission to stuff.
But
no way.
Well, scouting and then when it comes time to the hunt day, we make it as easy as possible for you, and we're going to show you an amazing time. And you know, the day and the hunt is about you and your experience, and that's really what we strive ourselves on. We want you to have a great time, comfortable, and learn to love what we do and create memories and relationship with us. And I mean, you're hunting with your buddies, with us. That's really what it is. You're hunting with your buddies that have all the ground and the gear and the scouting and the time to do it. And DIY, I don't care. I mean, you spend $6,000 a field around here, and cool, you have that one location. Or even if you don't, or you have plenty, or whatever, guys don't have the time to scout and stuff like that, like you're gonna get here.
You're not driving out here from Michigan and going to DIY birds. It's not going to happen.
Well, to add what John was saying too, with us is we'll explain what we're doing. You wanna learn why we're doing what we're doing with the decoys, or you brought your own calls, and we've had tons of, we'll call them calling clinics in the pits with people's kids, and they're like, well, what are you doing to make this sound? And then we'll help them out. We'll extend that, and we'll help them out, and maybe they'll be future guides for us one day.
Or they take it back to where they live and they're hunting in their backyard, and they become a better hunter because of stuff they've learned from you guys.
They put a little Colorado twist on there.
Yeah.
And this goes all the way back to the beginning. I mean, that's why I love to do it, is sharing the knowledge and experience that all of us have gained over the years, teaching, creating the relationship, before you know it, be meeting up at the gas station or field. What's going on, buddy? You're literally meeting up with your buddies.
Right.
And we're going to go out there, we're going to have a good time. And that's just a fact, to be honest. We're going to be sure it's a very enjoyable time for you. And I mean, a lot of times you're going to be on the birds, so
you're going to kill birds, you're going to learn stuff, you're going to walk away from this experience being a better hunter. And that to me is worth the investment in the price you pay to come hunt with an outfitter. And you guys, you take care of your clients. I mean, they're set up, and it just makes sense. And then guys can go back and they can take stuff into what they do around their homes, and they can have a different viewpoint on things. Like, man, I remember, when I was out there with Platte Basin Outdoors and we did this and this and this, and they can cherry pick little bits of that. And pretty soon they're killing more birds at home because of what they learned from you guys. And that to me is invaluable. It's invaluable. We talked about, we all have a shared love of fishing, fly fishing in particular. And we were talking about going into local shops and buying some local tide flies and picking brains, and maybe going on a guided trip in an area. And then you have that knowledge you've learned, because you've learned from somebody that is a professional in that particular discipline.
And area of wherever you're at, too.
Right.
Everything acts a little bit differently.
Every area is different. We come up, kill geese with you up where you're at.
Mm-hmm. It would be
It'll
different.
Be a different ball game.
It would, and I guarantee you, you know, if I throw you guys in a trailer blind with Noah Miller and Mountain View Mallards, it's going to be a little different than what we do down here, or what you guys do down here, and you're going to go, huh, I wonder how I can take that back and, you know, apply that, and they're going to do the same thing, like, ooh, I like the twist that they had on that. I'm going to try that up here, and yeah, it's just it's all just kind of learning from each other and learning from those experiences that makes it valuable. It's just awesome. But man, guys, I've had a phenomenal time hunting with you. I'm lucky because I get to do it one more day tomorrow.
Yep.
And I'm excited because we got a weather change rolling in. It's going to flip the script, and we are going to mess up some birds tomorrow. I'm stoked.
Yep.
But I got to ask, I'm going to ask each of you one final question. If you could only hunt one bird, one way, for the rest of your life, what's it going to be? Devin, I'm going to start with you. Because you have you've told me multiple times, I love hunting upland birds.
I do love hunting upland birds. It's a fun time. I like watching, especially the dogs that we have, the pointers work.
You guys have great dogs. Luna, Goose. If you had told me before this trip that, yeah, you're going to be, all the retrieving is going to be done by German Shorthairs, I'd have been like, great. And I'm not dogging German Shorthair guys, because German Shorthairs are great dogs. But I'm like, I'm a lab dude. And I'm unashamedly, when it comes to retrieving, I want a Labrador in that blind.
Right.
But these dogs have been special.
We appreciate it. We love them.
But back to that question.
I'm a big goose guy, and I know mostly what we hunt are the smaller, the lessers, and but when the big birds push into town, I really enjoy hunting the big birds and working them. And probably because we don't get them often or very long for down here, but you know, when they push through, that's definitely what I like setting up for. But yeah, give me some spins and, you know, just straight locked up from the edge on a windy day, and they're just, you know, you got big dinosaurs just coming across.
I love it. Dinosaurs.
The big Todds coming in, just locked up from way out.
But your lanyard speaks volumes, because you don't have a little goose call on that lanyard.
I do, but running with John, I don't need it. So then I can give, and that's the 2-guide system too. So I can stay. I don't have to get into the rip and the double cluck like he's doing all consistently.
And it's completely different.
Yeah, so I can do the other things on the big bird call, and it gives it a little more of a contrast. And we kind of pair our guides up that way too. Just put 2 totally different types of callers in, and you get more sound and different sound. Especially right now as they're kind of mixed up.
Right. Mike talked about that in his podcast. He's like, I can't call big geese, but I got a couple dudes that are like magicians on the big goose call. But he's like, I can rip a little goose call.
Right.
And he's right. I hunted with him yesterday, and he's over there just getting after it on the little goose call. And I'm like, dang, dude. It's so fast, so sharp, so aggressive. And then you pair that, like you said, with a honker call.
Yeah.
And you got all the bases covered.
Yep. Yeah, well, when you're reading too, if I'm getting down on the little geese or whatever, just a group of birds, and they're not liking it, man, I just go quiet, and he's completely different sound like that.
Right.
Or, you know, I'm not.
Or vice versa.
Me with bigs, you know, I do it, but I'm not like these other boys. I mean,
you're awesome on the little goose call. So it's big geese for you, probably pheasants second.
Definitely a big pheasant hunter too.
Yeah. You've been talking about pheasant hunting like awesome, and I love shooting ditch parrots, man. I love it. It's
me too.
I don't do as much of it as I would like to do, but dang. And you guys, where you live, you got some phenomenal pheasant hunting, because you're actually in Wyoming.
Correct.
Yeah. So one bird, one way for the rest of your life. John Boy, what's it going to be?
Pitch.
What?
The little birds out of the lessers out of a pit.
Lessers in a pit.
In Colorado.
In Colorado. Yeah.
Mike's sitting just off camera. This isn't fair, dude. He's like,
I mean, that's a very key component.
No, you guys are a team, and that's what I love. Lessers in a pit, big geese. Mike's sitting off camera, and he's like, in Colorado. But I love that. I love the interchange. Even though we're sitting here having a conversation, he's sitting right off camera. And he's not like thumb down on you guys like you better say the right thing. He wants to be part of this, but you guys are a team.
Yep.
And that's been so evident in everything we've done down here. It's constant teamwork. From setting decoys to putting decoys in trailers to where we're going to eat to, I mean, the whole ball of wax has been phenomenal.
Hunt day is we say it's the easy part, you know. I mean, there's a lot of behind the scenes that Mike does that, I mean, I didn't even know needed to happen, you know what I mean, until we started doing this together and kind of got molded into me more. And like Devin said earlier, right guys, right place. And now we have
it just happened, yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's pretty awesome, and
we got a special thing going on.
You do.
Lots of good things.
There's magic happening down here in northeastern Colorado that if you guys are looking for a phenomenal experience, man, it's just Platte Basin Outfitters is going to put you on birds all day long. They're going to provide you a phenomenal experience with phenomenal guides. There's going to be instruction. There's going to be camaraderie. There's going to be laughing and joking, and just, it's top-notch. It's a top-notch experience. And I appreciate you guys taking the time, once again, to jump on here. I know we got to go out and scout this afternoon. We got to get on it, find birds for the morning. And I'm looking forward to one more day in heaven down here in Colorado, and I'm stoked. This has been a dream come true, bucket list hunt. Thank you so much for this experience and for sitting down with me. I appreciate it, fellas.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
Look forward to tomorrow. Hopefully.
We're gonna smash them.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
It might be the first time we all hunt geese in the rain. So, well, in Colorado at least.
In February, rain in Colorado in February. Those are words you don't hear together very often.
We'll see. Hopefully it's snow.
I'm crossing my fingers for snow and not rain, but we'll see.
Snow would be beneficial.
Guys, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Wingmen Podcast. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Check out everything that we do on all of our social media platforms. Thank you again to all of our partners, Cryptech and Federal and Savage and Onyx and High Mountain and Sawyer Outdoors. You guys are all phenomenal, and you help us do what we do here at Wingmen. So thank you to all of that. Guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you leave us a review, because that really helps drive the algorithm and helps get this served to even more people. So awesome stuff like this gets out there and even more people can enjoy it. So thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, we'll see you in the field.